Alright, so let's get into it. Is it good to be delusional? Well, let's start off right off the bat with discussing, well, what is the worst case scenario if you are delusional? So, there are certain places where you do not want to be delusional. You don't want to be in a situation where you're in danger and you think that you're not. So you don't want to stand on the edge of a building and think, oh, well, if I lean too far, it's all good, no problem. You don't want to be in a position where you could get hit from behind and act as if it's just not going to happen because you have some kind of magical powers. You don't want to believe that you have something that's going to hurt you. But what a lot of people don't want to discuss, and I think something that gets ignored, is that a lot of the time it's not the delusions that we don't have delusions that are going to hurt us a lot of the time. But a lot of the time it seems that society as a whole, and a lot of people, I guess society is just built of individuals, but a lot of individuals want to convince you that it's not good to think that you're better than your current trajectory is. And again, I want to ask you, what's the worst case scenario if you think that you can make the NHL? What's the worst case scenario if you push yourself and you believe that you're going to be the best player in your league, or that you think you are the best player in your league even though you're not? Okay, so maybe if you think you're the best at shooting and you suck at shooting, that's bad. But if you can tie a unrealistic reality to a good understanding of what your current abilities are, you can really, really leverage what your mind has to offer and what your body has to offer. Because delusion pushes us to find new limits. It pushes us to have freedom to expand and grow and push. And a lot of the times we believe that we need to listen to what our gut's saying, in the sense of, like, if you in your gut feel, oh, well, I'm just not that great, or if someone tells you, oh, you'll never be this good, you have this kind of like very weird tie to want to just buy into that and believe that. But just because someone says or someone believes that, who is even knowledgeable, doesn't mean that they can't be wrong, because nobody knows for sure. And if you look up to this little thing I have up to my right, this is something that my girlfriend actually made for me, which I think represents exactly how I view things, which is that things are rarely ever black and white, and you need to add more color into your life. And what that means is that things are never really just, this is the truth, this is the wrong thing. So when someone says, you will never be able to make the NHL, okay, maybe it's extremely unlikely. But to then bunch that into it's completely impossible is just silly, because it just limits your ability to see what's possible in the future. It cuts you off, and it just kind of like chops off a certain section of where you could go. Imagine that you all of a sudden you just can't turn right anymore because, oh, well, that's the wrong way to go. It's not possible for you to go that way, and you're just never allowed to turn that way again. It just doesn't make any sense. And of course, analogies are never perfect, but the idea again is that it just limits you and just locks you into some crazy belief system. So delusion needs to have an understanding of where you are, but you can be delusional to high levels about the future. So you want to be realistic at the moment, but you want to be leaning towards being delusional. If you're going to pick something, you want to be thinking you want to think you're better, in the sense of when you're in the game. When you're practicing in those things, you want to be training as if you need to put in more time, more energy, more effort, because you need to have something to motivate you. If you think you're the best that's ever done something, you need to shift and step back a little bit and think, well, then I want to do something else. You need to push forward. You need to dive a little bit into your identity and find what it is that's going to make you get to that next level. So really consider that you want to have an understanding of where you're at. You want to teeter towards thinking you're better than you are when you play, because it gives you confidence to try new things, and you may actually be better than people have said. You may be better than you kind of consciously think and then you say. You may be the type of player who never does a great toe drag move, but suddenly you lean towards that little bit of not sure, but I think I can do it, even though you've never done it before. And then suddenly, boom, it works, and you make a move, and suddenly this opens up a whole new realm of possibility in your game that you can make these moves. Maybe you take a certain type of shot from a weird angle, and it goes in. Now suddenly that is a possibility every time you're in that area again. But previously, it wasn't, and it was a limit, and you couldn't do it. So it's a great way to look at on-ice actions and understand that you want to have the confidence to try new things, and that comes from being a little bit unrealistic about what's possible whenever you're making a move. Think about a deke that you've never tried before in a game. There's a point at which you have to believe you can do it without having done it before. Think about that. Like, you actually have to make a transition. Players who, for example, think about someone who's done the Michigan. I think it's called the Michigan. I feel like they rename it every time, where you flip the puck on your stick when you're behind the net, and then you basically drag it and pull it and put it top corner from behind the net. You like pick it up on your stick. So that goal, most people know it. Some people might not be familiar, but that move, it's crazy that like there was a time when that wasn't a possibility. Players just didn't try those things, which is just it's interesting because like it's not like we have like crazy new abilities that we didn't have before. Like it's not like people have like an extra arm that they didn't have, or they're way stronger than they used to be, or there's just some like magic like evolution we've had. We've evolved in terms of like our psychology, and we've evolved in the skill set we've improved on, but there's no like physical change yet. Now players have executed that move several times, and it's gonna keep happening. In every league it's starting to happen, and that's just from somebody opening up that possibility. Someone does it, someone else does it, someone else does it, and suddenly what used to be considered a stupid move or just like a silly like showboat play is starting to become a real threat. And now there's actually moves coming out of that. Players are trying to start the Michigan move, and then they, instead of actually picking it up, they fake it and then they pass out front. You see Matthews did that with, I can't remember who he passed to, maybe Marner, but he made that play, I think it was last year. And it was super interesting because you see something open up there. And again, it comes from people having an unlocked mind. And they actually are willing to be a little bit delusional, a little bit crazy, a little bit pushing the boundary of what's okay. And again, you don't want to be stupid and push past what your coach will allow you and get sat and get cut from the team. So you have to understand what you can and can't do in order to play. But if you can, and there's a way that you can try these things and be a little bit on the edge, it's going to give you a lot more opportunities that you previously didn't have. So don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to switch things up. Now moving it off the ice a little bit, think about if you go all in to playing professional hockey. Think about if you go all in and you're like, this is my goal. And imagine, really put yourself in that mind state. I'm going all in. I want to play in the NHL. I want to play in the highest professional women's league. I want to play over in Europe in the top leagues there. Whatever it is, pick something that's way kind of even out of what you think is possible. Just consider it for a moment. And as you start to consider, just notice how all these kind of limiting thoughts come up, and they lead to you kind of feeling a certain way. You're definitely going to have some emotional ties to that if at one point you thought that was a possibility. And just notice if it still feels like it's possible. And just think about that for a second. Now imagine the worst case if you tried to do that. Like if you just really let yourself try. to not be worried if something goes wrong, to not be worried if you don't make it. But just imagine if you just try and see how far you can go. What's the worst that's going to happen? And write it down. If you're not driving. If you're not driving, write it down. Think about that. Is it going to be that you don't make enough money to satisfy something? To make enough money to be rich? Is the worst case that you're going to not have a home? Is the worst case that you're going to, I don't know, be embarrassed that you said you wanted to? Or be embarrassed that you didn't do it and you kept it internal? I personally said it out loud. I said it out loud a bunch of times. And I genuinely, I said I wanted to do a certain trajectory, and I didn't. But I'm still pushing, and I still want to go to the highest level. I want to play in the East Coast League. I want to play at the high levels in Europe. I want to play AHL. I would like to play NAHL. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I do want it to happen. And I'm committed to seeing how far I can go. Because I like playing. Because I want to play. I want to keep playing. And I'm not afraid to share that stuff and put it out there. But I'm also not afraid to say it to myself and say it internally. Because ultimately that's what really matters here, is what you're saying internally. And a lot of players just kind of shut themselves off from having a little bit of a delusional mindset, to thinking greater than their environment. But that's what great players do. That's what truly unexpected stories, that's what happens. So just consider, what if you could just deal with whatever the worst case scenarios are? Just consider it. And I'm not asking you to make a decision, but I am asking you to just let those things kind of circulate in your mind for a little bit. And what you may start to realize is that you can manage. If you don't have a home, say you lose a lot of money, like you're not making a lot of money, well, you have friends, you have family. Hopefully you have at least one of those things. If you need to work, you could work a really crappy job, make $400 or $500 a week, rent a really small place somewhere. You could do it. You could eat. Work at McDonald's. You don't want to, but you could if you had to. And that's the worst case scenario. That's not the thing that's most likely going to happen. That's just a chance thing that's going to happen. Odds are you're going to get lots of opportunities. Lots of things are going to work out. But you're lying to yourself if you think that the worst case is so bad. Because it's not. You could really go all in and still go to school. You can still do lots of things. Great players, so many great players have still done very big things and have found ways to make things work. Of course you don't know exactly how to do it. But there's a saying that I've learned recently and that I really, really liked, which was throwing your hat over the fence. This idea that you don't know exactly what's on the other side, but you know you need to get to the other side, or you want to. You truly want to. You don't know how you're going to get over the fence, but you just throw your hat over and say, I'm in. Let's do this. And you're going to find something. You're going to get somewhere over the fence. You might get over, you might get somewhere up on the fence and fall off. But if you throw it over, you're probably going to find a way. Because you really want to get to that other side. You've committed now. You've thrown something over, you're in. So just really consider that. And really consider that if you don't get addicted to drugs, you don't get addicted to drinking alcohol, or anything that's really harmful for your psychological well-being, or physical well-being in that sense, but really psychologically, just consider it. If you stay away from those things that really take away your ability to process reality. And you're able to function, you can work a job if you need to, then you're going to be okay. Then you're good. So, I dare you to be delusional. But what I don't want you to do is don't let people lie to you either. So don't think that things are going to be perfect, that they have to be perfect. Just think that you're going to find a way. Find that confidence within you. Don't let someone convince you that they have the magic pill that's going to get you to the NHL. Don't let someone convince you that they have whatever that thing is that you've always dreamed of. You're going to want to use tools, and you may even want to use the tools that those people are selling. Those ones that are selling you a specific thing that's going to get you to where you got to go. Because those tools are going to be great, but they're tools on your belt. They are not the way. The way is to have all of the tools and then to use them and to master using them. Mastering your shot, each individual shot selection, mastering your ability to blend skills together, mastering your ability to really piece your whole game into one. That's what's going to allow you to succeed, not just one individual magic pill. So don't fall for that. And don't fall for the lies, the bullshit stories that people want to tell you. Don't fall for that stuff, that when they say, oh, look at Johnny Gaudreau, how small he is, or Martin St. Louis, look at how great they were, look at how they did. Well, sure, use them as inspiration, but don't think you're going to be exactly like them. You're going to do the same things. You're going to find different ways. Things are going to happen. You're going to adjust and adapt. Understand what they did, learn from it, but know that they were also outliers. They were small, extremely skilled players. So if you're not a small, extremely skilled player, and you're also not them, then don't try to be them. Learn from them. Replicate their movements. Learn their patterns. But don't let people lie to you and tell you you're going to be that exact person. There's a reality element to delusion that has to connect. You have to be able to function in the world right now. You have to know what is actually happening and see things clearly. But then you also have to push forward. And push forward into the unknown, into not knowing exactly what's going to happen next. And have confidence that you're going to find a way to make things happen. They're going to find a way to do something special in your career, in your life. And that you don't know exactly what that is. Dig in to who you want to be. If you want help, I'm here. Send me a message. Send me an email. You can send me an email at corson_searles@yahoo.ca. You can check out my website, corsonsearles.com. You can find me on Instagram at, let me actually pull this up for you guys so you know. Dun, 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 dun. At Corson Searles. Follow me there. Send me a DM. I always try to respond to all my DMs. I never ignore them. Sometimes I'm a little slow, but I'm really focused on getting back to you guys. Send me a DM there. Follow me on YouTube or subscribe to me on YouTube. Leave me a comment. I'm here to help. I'm a Division III player. I've studied the psychology of the game for approximately 8 years now. I've really put my life into this stuff, and I'm applying it to my game, and I'm finding where it works, I'm finding where it doesn't. I'm applying it to other players, and we're learning and improving and finding new ways to really master the game. So, I'm here to help. But regardless, hope you guys have a great day. I hope you have an amazing week. And again, just let that thought circulate in your mind. What is it that you're afraid of? What is it that you're afraid of? You got to stop. You got to stop being afraid of things that aren't really a problem. Step up. Step up. Because that's the only way you're going to find what you can actually accomplish in your life. It's the only way you're going to succeed on and off the ice, is if you have the ability to question what other people say is your set future, what you say is your set future. Challenge it. And discover what you can do. And do that this week. And hit me up if you want some help along the way. See you next week, guys.